Good morning to you. Welcome to Friday. This is your car thought for Friday, the 13th of February. We're already almost halfway into February. Very quick car thought. I've been speaking a little bit about Deuteronomy chapter 11 and how there's a bit of a thing in there that points us to the old and the new, where God says that the land that you're going to is not like the land that you've come from, that you could water as if it was a vegetable garden. You could water it on foot. And you know what it's like to water your garden. When it's a small garden, you can maintain. You don't even have to get the hose pipe out. And then suddenly you're in this bigger place that you know you cannot maintain or keep going the same way as you did before. And I believe that a lot of people have stepped into that place where there's a choice. Am I going to stay in this place? And I'm not talking about a physical place. You know that. It's a place of faith. Am I going to listen to the noise around me, the opposition around me, and believe the lies that this is my lot in life? Or am I going to trust that when I step out and begin to have faith in the faithfulness of God to do what He said He was going to do and bring you into increase? And then there's this sense of, should I stay where I was? You know, I spoke on the online Thursday session. I spoke about the Shunammite woman in 2 Kings chapter 4, how she was called before Elisha the prophet, and it says she stood in the doorway when he prophesied to her that about this time next year you shall embrace a son. And she was in the doorway. And her response was, "No, my Lord, do not lie to your maidservant," because she had obviously waited a long time. Gehazi said to Elisha that her husband is old. And so she had obviously put that aside and just got on with life. You can listen to the full session. It was almost an hour long on the Thursday session, Can These Bones Live? But this morning I want to say to you that I believe that if you're standing on the threshold, there's an invitation. You can go back into the place you've come from, which is okay. God will still love you. But you can choose to believe the promises of God now and step over the threshold where you know that you cannot make this happen yourself. You have to rely on a supernatural move. You have to rely on the presence of God and the leading of the Spirit, where it's out of our ability to make this thing happen, which is why it's important that we cross the threshold. We don't stay in this place of saying, I don't know if I can believe this. God needs to do it first. Or feeling like the victim, He's forgotten about me. So we can cross over the threshold and say, Lord, I'm going to believe your promises in the season. I'm going to believe for increase and breakthrough and whatever it is you have been trusting God for. And then we step over, and as we step over, we realize, now I'm out of my depth. And you've heard, maybe you haven't. I've got a lot of new followers at the moment, so maybe you haven't heard the dream that I had last year, where I was sitting on the ledge of a wall and my feet were dangling over, and below me, very far below me, was a natural pool. And a little baby boy came walking behind me in a nappy, and he sat next to me on the ledge, and his feet were dangling over, and he looked at me and he had a proper conversation with me. Now, this was a baby in a nappy who shouldn't have been able to speak, first of all. So it tells me it was something supernatural. So he looked at me and he said, I'm going to get in that water. And I looked around because it was dangerous. It was quite a high drop. I looked around to see where his parents were. Nobody came to look for him. And before I could turn around and stop him, he let himself go off the ledge and landed in this pool. And I could see down below, he was thoroughly enjoying his time in this water. So I thought to myself, and this is not something I do in the natural, if he can do it, I can do it too. And I slowly pushed myself to the edge of the ledge, let myself drop into the water. And I remember in the dream so clearly, I felt the supernatural under the water, security, peace. It was an atmosphere that I knew I belonged in. And I knew it was an atmosphere where I was out of my depth, but I could trust in the faithfulness of God. And I've not forgotten the feeling in that dream of just letting myself go and trusting God. And it was a sense of God saying, trust me for more. And so I believe we're in a season where God is wanting to do some great things. This revival we prayed about, the restoration of things that God has promised about, the glory of the Lord being seen upon his church. And that we need to realize that we cannot do it without his help. Only he can do it. And so I want to encourage you today that if you are on the threshold of something new, don't give in to the temptation to draw back and say, I'll wait for another day. I'll do it in 5 years from now when I have more faith. God is inviting you to step out now and trust him for the increase that you need to fulfill his purpose on your life. And it's not more things, it's an increase of intimacy with him, of understanding who he is in the word, your secret place, all of those things, an increase in a desire to be in the secret place with him, to live from the secret place. So be encouraged with that today, and have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon again. Sorry about the shaky camera on my phone. See you soon. Bye.